A tremendous and exciting morning to you here live from our studio in Lagos, Nigeria, and a special welcome to Waves Breakfast hashtag What Are You Saying? Today we're talking about men. Yes, men. And I know this gives us the antagonist negative vibe of women against men, but that's not so. One thing is for sure, giving you a balanced approach to conversations or issues happening in Nigeria is our mantra. Driving this conversation home to you this sweet morning is I, Okikiola Taiwo Jalupon, and of course I'm sharing this Okada seat with my beautiful, ever-radiant co-anchors, God's Beauty and Oluchi. You guys need to hold that thought. Hold it. We're going on a break right now. When we return, we're going to introduce my lovely co-anchors. Please stay with us.
Life is made up of moments, some that fill us with joy, others that test our strength. Welcome to Heartlines. This is our space to explore the highs and lows of human connection, the love, the heartbreak, and resilience that shapes our life. From relationships to friendships, parenting to partnerships, and so much more. Every week, we share stories and conversations that define us, navigating love, separations, the struggles of parenting, dealing with anxiety and managing the pressures and stress of life. Real conversations that bring us closer, helping us heal, grow, and connect. So join me Mondays through Fridays at 10 p.m. for Heartlines, the show where we connect hearts, have real conversations with real people, one story at a time.
Tell us you're a Nigerian without saying a word. Energy security is one of the most pressing issues for many developing countries like Nigeria. And if there's going to be any meaningful progress, addressing our energy issues is non-negotiable.
I need to see light for my house. Make them do something.
Band A is expensive. I literally have to turn off all my appliances just to reduce costs.
We need light.
Introducing the Energy Outlook, your go-to show for everything energy. Every week, we'll bring you the latest insights, innovation, and in-depth analysis of Nigeria's energy sector. From policy discussions to regulatory insights, we will analyze the key decisions influencing growth and sustainability in the energy sector. We'll bring you the human stories behind the headlines, giving you a personal perspective on the broader energy challenges. Join me every Friday at 6 p.m. for the Energy Outlook, your guide to the future of energy, where energy means business.
Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population and with little or no meaningful engagement leaves a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say. Life is made up of moments, some that fill us with joy, others that test our strength. Welcome to Heartlights. This is our space to explore the highs and lows of human connection, the love, the heartbreak, and resilience that shapes our life. From relationships to friendships, parenting to partnerships, and so much more. Every week, we share stories and conversations that define us, navigating love, separations, the struggles of parenting, dealing with anxiety and managing the pressures and stress of life. Real conversations that bring us closer, helping us heal, grow, and connect. So join me Mondays through Fridays at 10 p.m. for Heartlines, the show where we connect hearts, have real conversations with real people, one story at a time.
Welcome back to the show. As I said, driving this conversation this morning is Michael Anchors, beautiful God's Beauty, and of course, Oluchi, present here.
Who is also beautiful.
How you guys doing this morning?
Good morning.
Good
I'm
morning,
doing well.
Okiki. Good morning, Oluchi.
It's a new week.
Yeah, I'm hyped up, I guess.
What about you, God's
I am
Beauty?
too. I am too.
Okay, so let's hype it into the newspaper because
It is going to reduce the hype because once we dive
the
into the
newspaper is one of the
papers,
things that usually gets us shaky. So first, I think we have the Punch newspaper, the New York Times, and of course the Guardian this morning. So starting off with the Punch newspaper.
all right, the major headline reads, Budget Ultimatum. Pro-Wiki lawmakers give condition to meet Fubara. Lawmakers allege improper letter service ousted local government chairman, mock governors. We also have 4,111 convictions secured, over 364 billion naira recovered in 2024, says EFCC. El Rufai meets Aregbesola Bakare as ex-governors deepens consultation. Diphtheria, Lagos meets WHO and NCDC over outbreak in school. Man flees as girlfriend found dead in Lagos apartment. Federal government under fire over plans to import Europe waste. And above that, we see South-South Congress deepens PDP crisis as NWC Wike camp clash. Saraki Serap tackle Akpabio over Natasha's suspension. System glitch, U.S. Embassy to reschedule visa interviews. And petrol imports jump 105% to 15 trillion naira NBS reports. And don't bother, I'm not going to talk about Phil this morning. I was going to talk about this recurring story in different formats. I think we had it last week. You know, this whole thing of people being found dead in apartments and houses is becoming a worry. And the fact that it's always the females that are disadvantaged in this sense is something to really look into. And it's just a call for people to be more careful out there. Honestly, that's just my comment on that. But the one I really want to touch on is the health concern. So there's this new outbreak. It's called diphtheria, and it's been found in schools. According to the full details on the Punch, it's actually King's College in Lagos. And this sickness is quite... It's scary in that sense. So diphtheria, I went to check it out. It's a bacterial infection caused by a lot of things. Mainly affects the nose and throat, creating a thick gray coating that can make breathing difficult. And the symptoms include sore throat, fever, swollen glands in the neck, like a bull neck appearance, and difficulty in breathing or swallowing. It basically makes you feel like you're choking, like somebody is strangling you from the inside. Now, what is actually happening? So there's been this outbreak in King's College, Yaba, and some of the students they've been asked to use nose masks. Some of them were taken to the hospital, I think Lagos State Teaching Hospital. And it had a lot of intervention from the WHO and NCDC to show that it's actually an outbreak to look out for. But my own question here is that there seems to be like a pattern of when things escalate is when we begin to know about the intricacies of it. Because definitely, if you have some students that have been taken for medical interventions, it means maybe one person had it first.
Yeah.
You can't have an outbreak that 5 or 10 people are having it at once. It's very rare. It will start with one and then it graduates. So when they saw the symptoms, when they first saw the smoke before the fire, what was done? Or was it just, you know, sometimes I think schools always try to do this thing where they want to put their, you know, we've had a lot of school complaints over the years where some schools will bury some issues or
reputation.
So health concerns should be escalated, whether or not your school is on the line. Because apart from this just being a school thing, it's in Lagos. I mean, it can spread, even though some of them are boarding school students. But I think that, you know, this should be escalated quickly. And thank God the governor, the Lagos State government, WHO, and many health professionals are getting involved. And I'm hoping that these students get better, because all these big names for diseases, that's very scary. I mean, we've dealt with corona, we've dealt with Lassa, Ebola. What's this one? Diphtheria or something? Please, let's be safe out there. And that's all the stories I have.
completely agree with you. Godsbiti, I would like you to take your...
All right, straight into the New York Times newspaper. By the top center, we have over 40 died while captive in Gaza Strip. We have top right, fearing payback, critics of Trump mute themselves. Then the center, that's the main investigative story. We have a hotline opens on the suit against Combs Mount. Then left column, we have father accused in vacation plots to kill daughter. Bottom center, a reverence for the handmaid. So the headline I want to quickly touch on, actually two, because I wanted to just talk a bit about what's going on with the Didi story. So of recent, we've had like the legal team bring out like a legal line for people that have been hurt or people that have probably been victims of Didi's, you know, SCAP is now in that sense. They can come out to state how they feel and all of that. But it's one thing for them to come out and say, oh, this is what has happened to me, but there's no evidence. Because literally, I hate where, I mean, it's something that happens in all courts, even here in Nigeria, right? Where a particular case is brought in. Instead of them to just, let's look at it, you know, let's look at the evidence that we have and let's see what we can nail him with. Do you get? We're just having so many people file lawsuits and file lawsuits and file lawsuits. Do you people have evidence? Do you understand? Me, I'm more concerned about the evidence. So it's one thing for people to come out and say, oh, this is what has happened to me. But how about, you know, bring out evidence so that we can just close this case once and for all? The guy is supposed to go to prison, let him go and let's keep moving on.
Things.
Exactly.
Evidence, arrest,
exactly. So we just move on. Then I also wanted to touch about this, the headline at the top right that says, fearing payback, critics of Trump meet themselves. So honestly speaking, it's just talking more about the power of the president, right? And it's very painful because I was thinking about this, why the judiciary were yet to hear anything from the judiciary arm. Because, I mean, the last time we had conversation about it was like, oh, the judiciary are taking measures to ensure that some of the powers of the president have been stripped out and all. And till now, we've not gotten any update on that. So I really don't know what's going on. If probably people that are there have probably been changed by the president himself. So it's going to be very chaotic, you know? So yeah, but that's all I have for you on the New York Times.
Well, yes, as she has rightly said, that's all we have for today's papers. We'll be taking your questions and comments live on our social media platforms, so please be sure to join the conversation. We'll be right back after this break with our hot topic. Please stay tuned. Welcome back to the show. As I said, this morning we're questioning men in leadership. The current happenings and even events over the years has given us a reason to ask questions. Despite making up nearly half of Nigeria's population, women continue to face significant barriers to equity and empowerment, from limited access to education and healthcare to discriminatory laws and social norms. Women in Nigeria face unique challenges that hinder their ability to reach their full potential. This has been verifiably and statistically linked to patriarchy. So we are asking, what role can men in leadership positions play in addressing these challenges and promoting gender equity? Joining me this morning is Sola Omolayo, who is a social commentator and an active Nigerian. Welcome, Sola. Good morning. Do we have Sola here?
Good morning, ma. Good morning, Nigerians, and thank you for having me.
Yes, amazing to have you, sir.
Hello. Are you hearing me?
Yes, of course, I can hear you clearly. So let's get right into this discussion. Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Yeah, are you hearing me now?
Yes, very well,
All right,
sir.
thank you.
So I'm of the belief system that equality is unreasonable, as men are not women and women are not men. Equity for me sort of balances out the unique expression, experiences and nature of each gender. Still, patriarchy or patriarchal norms, if I'll put it like that, still nullifies the fact that it is not a competition. Most of the time, every time, it looks like there's a competition between a man and a woman. They have to be equal. Whatever it is that you give to the man, you have to give to the woman. But these are things that I don't see as normal, because I believe that women experience different things, men experience different things. So equity will sort of ring a bell for me. So it brings me to ask, what do you think are the most significant barriers to achieving gender equity in Nigeria? Now, how can men, especially in leadership positions, address them?
Yeah, again, good morning, Nigerians, and thank you for having me. With the expression you relate now, you are asking questions and also imputing relative answers. But we have to partition some of these questions when it comes to leadership, gender issue. First, we need to check the environment we find ourselves and get to understand the moral and the legal aspect of the environment that we find ourselves and how they balance the equation of leadership in the areas of gender. So also, we must accept the reality of life that inculcated the spiritual concept from the Adamic world, either you like it or not. It then shows that the gender struggle has been there from time immemorial. Equating that balance in the kind of governance we run this day is going to be a big tax based on the kind of laws that such an environment are promulgating, talking about states, nation, and continent. If you want to put your discussion in a kind of environment of Nigeria, it's going to be a big tax that will lead or scratch out some pain that some of the leaders, most especially in the woman gender, will have gone through. And when you talk of leadership, the spirit flows along, either from the man or from the woman. But something is so dark in the human world that we need to scratch and see if we can get it right. Do we first treat the issue of gender, or we first study the proceed of leadership. If I will study the areas of gender, men has the dominion power, and they've been playing their role very well. Coming to the women, gender, I would say the women have not been fighting a good cause, even within themselves. If you want to be honest to yourself, who is the enemy of the woman? It's still the woman. With the event that took place recently, who is against the woman? It's still the woman. Even while the man is trying to defend institution or that image, that person, that being, you still find out that of saving the gender of the woman. But when you look at the woman folk, that you think there's a lot to the life of growth or to the life of existence, who is the enemy of that same campaign? Is still the woman. Who do you hold responsible in that regard?
All right, thank you so much, sir. Very insightful one. Thank you for opening up this discussion this way. So looking at the topic, I want to question men in leadership. At first, I felt like, wow, what kind of topic is this on a Monday morning? But then, with the current happenings in our society, sometimes we need to address certain misconception and myths. So it's known, I mean, for Nigerian men in power and authority, that there seems to be this toxic masculinity that, you know, happens in political spaces or even corporate spaces. There's also this style of leadership for men where they term it as strong man style. So there's the idea that when a man is in leadership, he should act strong, he should be masculine, and sometimes it is equated for being toxic. So I want to know how you can respond to this kind of argument and misconception about men in leadership. Is it about toxic masculinity or just a strong man style?
Well, whichever way you put it, let me just go spiritual now a little bit. From where we begin to go. Hello? Are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm with you. Please go ahead.
Are you hearing me?
Very clear, sir.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Like I'm saying here, I said that. Okay. Let me go spiritual here. While I say spiritual, I will go into area of my elementary knowledge. That is the growth of human being from the Garden of Eden. Whichever course you practice, I think you will still want to understand the growth of that angle. It's just unfortunate that the world changes the concept of that growth. Let me put it this way. When God created heaven and earth, and he created man and woman, that is the first language, Adam and Eve, right? Okay. And he said, he created the woman for an earth's meat, somebody who is going to help you and assist them. But when you read further in the Bible, which people turn around, they fail to understand the strength of the woman, that powerful being that has been there from ages. And we misunderstood the concept of the spiritual notes. How? How can you be an helpmeet if you are not strong? How? Take it into another elementary knowledge. How, if I want to lift an item and it's heavy for me to take up, I will need somebody who is either stronger like I do or a bit stronger than I to assist me in lifting that up. So bring me to that table. I will tell you that the woman is not a weak one. I can even say it's even more stronger than the man because so much is within that being. But because of for the area where we find ourselves, we mix the card. We shake the card off and take away the A, allowing the king or the queen to stand on board. No, it's not so. For me, I just believe we are living in an age where people lost the value of the human race, especially the gender woman. And it starts from the home. It starts from the home. AC pets. You are creating an inferior class of telling her that she can hold to leadership. That is where the problem starts from. It's not even in the general eye of the whole world. But when you enter into homes where they prepare both the boy and to understand that outside the world, you have the right to defend the world. Once you can do that from your domestic home, you have won the conscience of the gender, either man or woman. That is why you can't tell me for anything that you will never wake up not to respect the likes of late Ransom Kuti, that grateful Omolayo. You can't wake up to tell me people like that are lazy. You can't wake up to tell me that the like of the richest woman is just a concept of what we have in our head, and it's not good for our society.
Thank you so much, Sola. I really appreciate it. I mean, all the things you've been saying are actually very valuable and valid. So I like the fact that you made mention of the fact that women are strong, we are strong beings, right? So what exactly is the problem? Because, I mean, culturally now you see that, you know, women are built to be dependent on men in that sense. So let's talk a bit about how women representation can actually succeed, right? We're talking about equity and equality, right? And just like Okiki has mentioned, there's just a lot of competition going on where there's not even supposed to be, because I feel like if each and every one of us understand that women have as powerful as men, I don't think we'll be having this conversation. Do you get what I'm saying? So what exactly do we start doing? I mean, how do we start changing mindset? Because like I made mention of the fact that culturally now women are built to be dependent on men. So it's going to take, I feel like it's going to take forever. But I mean, that's why we have you here, so that you help us with those tips, those ideas, those measures, those strategies that can be put in place in order for women to also be seen in the leadership space now. Speaking of leadership, I'm talking about in different sectors.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we find ourselves in this side of the world as so poor in thinking. Our reasoning is so poor. We can be rich, we can get ourselves to that rich materially, but the reasoning of what we have is so poor. That is why you notice that fighting that cause a big task. Let me tell you one simple truth that people don't understand. A lot of women don't know that men are cowards. Sounds so funny, right? Like speaking from a stand-up or comedy show. No, men are so coward. I will tell you this. It's only the women are not smart to understand that part of the men. How can you imagine a whole? Let me put it in an understandable note. A full-star general. Do you know what it means? Full-star general, four-star general, will be so timid to approach a 20-year-old girl that man, that general with his star cannot command a beautiful 20-year-old girl to come. If confidence has been built in the heart of such a girl, she will tell you, why are you calling me? You need to express yourself. You need to explain. Why do you want to see me with a little respect of sir? That timidity is in the heart of every man. Most time, they send guys to go and meet those young girls, you know, those young ladies. That's timidity. But the women lost that angle to know that men are cowards. So when you get into their world, they use that cowardness that is in them that they know to oppress the world of the women. When a woman gets to understand that I'm in charge, I have all it takes to give my to be seen, it's going to seem oppressive, because men are always threatened. It's not even the women that are threatened. Men are always threatened because they can't hold on to the challenge of the woman. So it's going to be a long road to travel.
Thank you, Sola. So we'll go on a quick break right now, and when we return, we'll wrap up this conversation with you with, you know, a few keynotes or advices that you'd be sending out to the men there. Maybe not the typical things that have been said before, but some of the advices, because we want this to be in a very how would I put it? Like a recommendation to men in leadership positions for women out there. So when we come back, you give us a few advice and then we'll wrap up the show from there. Please stay with us.
Nigeria, by extension Africa, battles a growing youthful population, and with little or no meaningful engagement, lives a ticking time bomb on our hands. We are a blessed continent with great wealth, both in people and material. Our focus on ways remains driving conversations that affects us all. Topics in the news, social concerns, politics, leadership, governance, empowerment, resource management, conflict management, finance, SME sustainability, technological innovation, food security, health, education, brain drain, our well-being, citizenship, and much more. Our goal is to continuously drive these conversations, keep them burning at the table to effect a positive change, both for our nation and continent. Ways, what are you saying, has a secret ingredient that completes the conversation every single episode, and that ingredient is you. Our past conversations shaped our yesterday. To shape our tomorrow, we must keep talking. So, I want to hear you. Be a part of our live conversations Mondays through Fridays. And let's all have our say.
Welcome back to the show. I'm hoping I still have Sola here. So as I rightly said, I would really love maybe a 3-point recommendation for men in leadership positions to create or promote like inclusive and supportive environment for women to also take up leadership roles as themselves.
All right. At this junction, I think we'll use the bit of the event of the Senate recently to appeal to some of our great men in leadership. No matter what you think might be wrong with the women, I think you need to tolerate these women a lot. And like the case happened in the assembly, Natasha should have been another bait in encouraging women to come into office and hold into pedestal of leadership. The politicians have a lot to do. There was a time they were saying that they will allow women to hold 35% position in various areas of governance. And today, I don't see that happen. And it's so bad that we have just 4 women in our national Senate, which is the bad record to our women. I want to use this period to say the women should be encouraged, the women should be allowed, and they should be given space. There should be space. And the system of governance in an area that they are not having, the government they should expand the coast for women to come in so that they can encourage others. At times, if you treat matters in a trivial form and you don't treat it well, like the case of Natasha, also breaking the barrier of permitting women to come into office, that is too bad. Then in the social world where you do business, trade, our women should be allowed to hold position in banking sector. They should not be threatened. They should not be humiliated. They should be given space. In fact, there should be a law. There should be a law that promulgates human abuse, that women abuse in that big bank, where if a woman is being treated like they are being deprived of position of offices, they can be look into, and their rights should be given to them. That is the only way out. And the general society at large, the men in general, should encourage their women to grow. Yes, we have this inferiority complex, like I say, but we should encourage our women to grow. We can't start it from the top. We need to start this from the bottom. A parent, you be a mother, you be a father. Let that woman know, the lady that is growing up, that know that the sky is the limit, just like you're encouraging the boys to, that the sky is the limit of whatever they want to become. That is the only way out, because the situation we have in our hands in Nigeria, this debate, this talk, this subject is a deep one that you can't say that even the men are struggling to find their feet, trying to create an empire for themselves, struggling within themselves. So it's going to be a tight thing, but if we can start it now, that is the best way to do it, because you can't just begin to treat a matter on a degree level if you don't start it from the elementary level down before bringing it to secondary. We should start it knows that she has the power to do great things. That's the only difference.
Thank you very much, Sola. You have mentioned a few points that I completely agree with, and this is where I say thank you for coming on the show and enlightening us on some misconceptions about about men in leadership. Thank you very much. So, bringing it back to the ladies, I think that we have had a man talk about men in leadership. Now it's time for us to talk about questioning men in leadership. We are growing women. We are aspiring to perspire, basically. What is that thing that you think that you have experienced before, that you see that this is not normal? This should be changed from one thing to other. What's that thing that you have seen, especially when it relates to whether or not you are competing alongside a man, or you're just being your normal self, trying to also improve in that same position? Let's assume as an anchor, you're competing in the same position as an anchor with a man. What's that thing that you've found abnormal that you have noticed and you think should change?
Well, if we're speaking on a very personal note, I might not be able to pick any, because I'll say I've been privileged and fortunate not to be in insane environments. So I can't really pick on some things that personally relates to me. But based on stories I have heard or people that are close to me that have had to face this, discrimination, is sometimes some of these toxic traits that come about or, are rampant in workspaces that can stifle whatever equity we're trying to look out for is in snide remarks. Now, there's a whole lot that happens with snide remarks. What I mean by that is, because of the awareness and advocacy that's going on right now, pardon me, some men might not come out as villains to want to tell you that, no, you're not going to rule and all of that, right? But it happens with snide remarks. It happens with, comments that they give concerning your work. And it might look like they're being objective or critical, but if you're someone that can listen to nonverbal cues and pay attention to what somebody is saying when they're saying what they're not saying, do you understand what I mean by that? You realize that sometimes some of these men perpetrate that through certain snide remarks. And I think that is one aspect that I'd really love for, we used to think that it's women that are the ones that have a loose mouth, loose temper and can say some things. But I've had experiences, or not personal, right? I've had people tell me things that, in my workplace, I just submitted this one and the person gave me this remark. It was quite shady. Even though it was not so direct, you can't hold the person to say, you are being this, but you can break those statements and see that this is giving the vibe that I do not want it to give. So I think some things that should be looked out for in workspaces should be noting how you speak to the women. Women are edgy, so men should not feel threatened when they find a woman in a workspace who seems to be edgy. Why? The society has made it that way. There's somewhere in our mind that feels like, probably a male counterpart is about to, what's the word now, relegate me aside. So it's possible that they might come with an edgy approach towards you. So I think at this point, I always use the sensitive and emotional. I think men should become more empathetic. We've seen that trait more with women than with men over time. And psychologically, there are things that can prove that women can be more empathetic. But in different workspaces, we need to see men taking on more of that empathetic nature, because women are already in a position where they naturally want to be edgy. they've heard stories, they've listened to podcasts, they've heard stories of people men that, relegated women. So if you're coming to them, even though you want to be critical, there's this edginess of, is it trying to downgrade me? Is it trying to not promote me? Is it trying to stifle my work? So we must know how to communicate effectively in the workplace. And let it be at a good equilibrium. The way you speak to a female who is at your level or maybe below you should be the same way you speak to the man. And I think if we take note of those simple things that maybe you can't overstretch, we can see a lot of changes happening in the workplace. And I'm very grateful to God that I stay in a sane environment. And maybe so. So that's my point.
Godspeed, I want to hear from you, but I want to quickly share a personal story.
Tell me.
I remember when I ran for elections, and most of the comments were, how woman go rule me? You're too small. There was always something. And because most of the time when you go for campaigns, you're surrounded by the male folk, obviously.
Yeah.
That's the people, that's the majority of people you find in those spaces. Some who are following you to even go and campaign don't even really like you. They still join the people to say, they follow them because at some point maybe there's food after the campaign, or maybe there's a stipend that you give. So they are following you not because they like you, not because they believe in you. It's just for the sake of you have to follow. Campaign time is the time to shop money, so you have to be part of a group. And then you see all these other people who are also trying to talk about your manifesto, what you want to do, what you have been doing, and they're like, God forbid, a woman will not rule me, women are supposed to be under, women are supposed to be this. Just like Sola was mentioning that women are supposed to be tolerated. I completely disagree with that because I think the local government chairman we had last week was mentioning that women are emotional beings. I think that we express differently. Men are also emotional beings, but there are different expressions to things. There are different experiences to things. Obviously, if I'm having my period, I would be I'll be cranky. Or sometimes I might just be silent, moody. It could be anything. And then a man can be, I said, just like Millie Odiambo, I don't know if you people know her. She's a South African representative where she was also talking about on the seat house where she was mentioning that you don't know how it feels to carry a child for 9 months. And same way, she doesn't know what it means to have blue balls or ejaculate or have wet dreams. So you should not say that you put yourself in my shoes. You are not in my shoes. You can never be in my shoes.
Neither am I in yours. So.
Neither am I. And that's why I was talking about equity, that it has gone beyond what men should do, what women should not do. It should not be that there's an approach of some level that, okay, in a whole year, this is a woman. In a whole year, this is a man. How can we create a balanced approach to... Well, in the 21st century, for God's sake, the internet has made everything so open. There's some people that will say that they never knew about periods, they never knew about mental health, they never knew about AI and all of these things. But now there's awareness to these things. People now know more. There's a larger percentage of people who now have the internet, more so the men. Because it's the women that even they hold their phones before... They said they should be 18 before they give them the phone because of exposure to all these things. So I feel like, regardless of all Sola have said, it still remains the fact that there's a problem, there's an issue with men in leadership. There's an issue with men in general. And this is me pointing it out to all men.
That's so direct.
Yes, it's very direct. There's an issue with men. There's a misogynistic issue happening to you people. There's this idea that women from time immemorial thing, at some point, women will start using it. Yesterday, I was saying that maybe after all, Eve did not do anything. Because since Sola was talking about spirituality, maybe Eve did not do anything. Maybe Eve was just on her own. She went to pluck apple, and Adam was like, "You not give me this apple to chop." And then he ate it and then had to lie against her. To be honest, I just think that I've experienced... Just all she says she hasn't experienced, but on so many levels, I've tried to break the status quo in that sense, break the glass ceiling, break the this. In fact, break cup to the extent that it has not become frustrating to be around men. Because if you say something, they're like, you know, you are a woman, so I know that you cannot understand. And somebody will still preach, or this whole thing I'm saying will still target to being emotional. And yes, I'm emotional. Try and make it easy.
Word.
Not beauty. I want to hear from you, please.
Word.
Oh, my Lord.
I wrap up.
So just to add into what you guys, because I mean, you guys have literally said a lot. to the question you asked her, right, I think there are two things I've literally seen over time, which is one around, oh, because you are a woman, you will not be effectively do something, you'll not be able to carry out your job effectively like a man would. And that's why there will be probably reduction of salary and all of that. They would want to pay the man more than the woman because of that efficiency, like in quote now. Then I think there's also that, because, I think it's something we've actually even talked about over time, where if the madam is a woman, for example, then the subordinate or someone on that would want to be like, oh, I cannot really respect her the way I would respect a man, given that
have your
she's
type
a woman.
at home.
Don't be smart, I have my type at home. But in conclusion to this, right, the fact that this thing that we've all said is actually culturally backed up. That's the problem. That's the problem. Do you understand? Anything that is culturally, acceptable in this country, it's our culture. It's our way of life. Do you understand? So it will take a lot for, for things to happen, for change to, for us to see change. If in this time and era, you're talking about the fact that there's Google and all of these things. In this time and era, we have traditional men that still believe that their wife is even 10 months pregnant. I'm so sorry. Even if the wife is 10 months pregnant, she should still boil water. She should still cook for me. Imagine that kind of mentality. Where do we want to start with the change? So it's a lot, right? So I think we should just do a lot of, the fact that we already have this conversation, people that are watching, and listening, right? They understand good and bad. And you see this thing around, oh, we are men, we are adults, we are supposed to know the good and bad. I'm sorry, there are people that don't know. They actually, and again, taking us back to culture, because it's something that we've seen, culture play out. If you ask any older person, and the person will tell you, no, you're supposed to be this, you're supposed to be that. In a relationship, you're supposed to be this. If your husband say 1, don't say 10, keep quiet. Imagine. Then when do we want to see the change, right? But that's why we have this conversation, so that we'll keep talking about it, we'll keep creating awareness. You hear that, it's one thing, this interesting part, we hear men say that, oh, women are strong, women are this, women are that. And that's why I wanted to even ask our guests, tell me why we keep mentioning all of these things, but at the same time, we still don't see women, in these spaces. It's people that come with the conclusion that women are strong. So why are they not there?
Do you already said that men are cowards. I want to, in case you did not hear your fellow man saying
that's deep.
Sola said that men are cowards, and that is
said
why
women are not smart enough. So he gave everybody basbos.
But most especially that men are cowards and are afraid that if women, or when women, because this is eventually going to happen, when women get into leadership positions, I think that when I wanted to pick this topic, I almost said that, how can we eradicate men in leadership? Because it was sounding like I was being very extreme about it.
No, and I feel like that's actually a very valid question.
Yes, some personal experience.
Yeah, because there's some men that are not even supposed to be in leadership. See, let's not lie.
Honestly, have you heard where they have said that older people, that one happens in politics, where they say we should remove all the older people so that young people can rule.
Yes.
So I'm not directing it to men whether they should wipe
age range. That's why I always question the age range they put in the Constitution.
But if you agree with this thing that you're saying, that means you'll be contradicting the complementing stuff that you mentioned earlier. The fact that
that's what I said when I wanted to start off with the topic.
Think that way.
I wanted to first say, let us eradicate men.
Not to be like I'm trying to be in the I'm trying to create a balance to this conversation. Cool. So when we talk about men in leadership, we must know that one of the people that are most experiential when it comes to leadership are going to be men. You're going to agree. In corporate spaces, I'm going somewhere.
For a long time.
In corporate spaces, in politics and all, they have some sort of experiences and they handle things in their own men way that still eventually would go right. We're saying now that that is the masculine way of handling things, and it has been going okay so far, I guess. Then for the women as well, we also have our own way of doing things, and they don't have to be mutually exclusive. How to see both parties come together. So there's this solution I want to recommend. I want to recommend how that, men that I'm hoping are exposed, I'm hoping are advocates for gender equity, should start looking out to mentor younger women. The truth is, you might want to just put every woman in the same bracket of women are this and that, but there's still some women that get into this leadership position and they do not handle this thing as much as they should, because you cannot deny the fact that sometimes our emotions get the best part of us. So we can have more men. Well, questioning men in leadership is also giving them ideas on how they can collaborate with us. Do you understand? It doesn't have to be like this all the time. So I think if we can have more experienced, wise men, you know, that can take more women into their mentorship in organizations, for example, if you see a particular, maybe a subordinate that is doing well in her career, instead of making her feel daunted or making her feel
Or
coward,
sexually harassing her.
it's more like, based on your own experience with leadership so far, let her see the possibilities and see how two things can work together. If we have more of that, you see that perfect blend of a man in leadership can still sip and take from a woman also. I think that's how we can have equity in this society.
Well, I feel like Oluchi has actually spoken well, but there are certain things that she made mention of that I feel like it's not working, right? But you made mention of the fact that where we are right now, given that men are the ones, you know, doing the right, they're the pilots and all of that. If they are actually doing well, let's not lie, let's not twist. I don't like to twist things. If they're actually doing well, we'll not be having this conversation. But because we know that there are lots women can actually bring to the table as well, that's why the need for the collaboration is there. Because if you say that, oh, men are actually doing well, then there's no need for this conversation in the first place. Do you understand? So it is very important
so
that
men are doing bad.
They are not doing well. I am so sorry. They are not doing well.
I
feel like what is going on in the Senate
have...
president, whatever that's going on in the Senate House is a very typical example.
You are just using one lane to determine men's leadership ability.
There are so many examples.
There are not many examples, my sister. There are other men in different. Are you just going to focus on political space? I'm telling you that, of course, we have a problem with the majority, maybe, that are not functioning as they should. But you can't say men are not doing well. I have a problem with the absoluteness.
Okay.
Yes, we have a problem culturally that seems to make men act in certain ways, but I will tell you that there are still men that are doing their leadership jobs well in different sectors, religiously, corporately, in entertainment, in several ways. So it's just to find out how those experiential men doing well can help younger women to be better. But putting that category of all men are not doing well, that's the one I'm not going to subscribe to. I'm sorry.
So we disagree to agree, actually.
That's okay.
So that's the beautiful thing about this table, is that everybody has their unique opinion about things. But wrapping up this whole conversation is that one thing, like Sola did, you know, empowering women and talking about how women should keep going for it regardless of what they face, just like every other strong woman from Ransom Kuti, Omolayo, Ransom Kuti, you know,
yes.
and all of these women who have gone forth and then become whatever they want to become, regardless of the stereotypes. So that's one thing I want to first drive. Maybe give me one thing for a man who you have already mentioned, that maybe empathy towards, you know, women, so that they can mentor them without, yes, wisdom to collaborate. And God's Beauty already said that we should tackle the cultural norms.
Yes.
Let's just wrap it up with, if you have any other thing to tell a man or a woman as we wrap up this conversation.
I think for women, we have to be resilient. We need to keep working. Do you understand? Because, I mean, that woman, Omolayo Ransom Kuti, that if you listen to if you've watched the film, look at a trajectory, the story, everything, there's a lot to learn. You know that for every time that they're even beating her and telling her to go back home, she's going back there to fight again. I mean, there's something about having to go back. Look at what's going on. Okay, why are we not even accepted here? Why are we not allowed in this space? We need to go back again. And that's why I would say for every woman out there that's been doing the work, we see it, I see it, you understand? And I want you to keep going back to fight. It is very, very important, because at the end of the day, we'll win it. Don't worry.
Thank you. Thank you, God's Beauty.
Carry your cutlass and be fighting.
It's all we're going for.
But honestly, I think we should be more resilient. Sometimes there is an extreme that women can have in getting into any sector that, you know, say we know they do well for this place, they know go give us chance to thrive, and you limit yourself. During the Women's Day celebration, I was watching a lot of interviews on YouTube, and I was seeing, like you mentioned, the women that you have spotted doing great. You know, CEOs of banks, different people in different sectors, in finance especially. You know, I know sometimes we're arguing politics and politics, but maybe before we get politics right, there are some sectors that we are infiltrating and we're really dominating. You know?
Right.
In finance, it opened my eyes like, wow, see women that are topping the chart in finance and in different sectors as well. So I think that we should be wise in how we infiltrate these areas. And those areas that are a little bit edgy now, like the political space that seems to have some question here and there, eventually we'll get it. Right? Since we're getting in some areas, I think would eventually get. So don't give up. Please do not give up, and do not have the stereotype of, oh, though it's a stereotype, but don't let it overwhelm you to the point that you're not taking the action that is needed.
Thank you very much, Oluti. So the common thing on this table is resilience. Woman, please be resilient. Men, change your ways.
Anyway, men change your ways. Men collaborate.
Thank you for such an insightful conversation, my viewers and my co-anchors. Thank you for always. Thank you to our guests also. I'll see you tomorrow. Ensure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Official Upgrade TV. We have more coming your way tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Hello, you. Yes, you. This is Usayome Sale from Ways Primetime. Now, we appreciate your continued support for watching our content, following us across all our social media. But we've noticed, for those of you watching us on YouTube, 88.5% of you who watch our content aren't subscribed to our channel. Why? Now, if you are enjoying our content, you enjoy our shows, and you want to stay updated on all things Ways, it's time to hit that subscribe button below. Now, subscribing isn't just for you. It's for the growth of our channel. It helps us get bigger and better. With your support, we can continue to bring even more intriguing and exciting content. How about you subscribing right now and being a part of our community?